Creating thicker lines, especially when we're just starting out, can be very difficult to do. I feel like creating thicker lines can be difficult because there are multiple ways that we can go about creating thicker lines, which means each method is going to require us to adjust and accommodate for that specific method. There isn't necessarily a right or wrong way to approach creating thicker lines. However, it's more about what is more comfortable to us and what we can technically execute correctly. The first method that comes to mind when it comes to creating thicker tattoo lines is to simply match the line weight to a needle of that size. For example, right here I have an Ink Claw 88 round shader, which means there's 88 needles to make up this one needle point. I would simply use this needle to create one pass of lines on each and every line. I feel like 88 needles is really close to this line weight right here. However, it's very important to note that an 88 round shader is not a common tattoo needle, so which means chances are if we are just starting out, we are not using needles of this size. Let's say we didn't have an 88 round shader at our disposal. What do we do at this point? This would bring me to my second approach. Another way that we can go about creating thicker tattoo lines can be simply using, for example, an 11 round liner and then kind of outlining these areas right here and then packing them in with an 11 round liner, and then we can kind of repeat that throughout the entire tattoo. This right here, the second method, would apply to any needle size that we feel comfortable with, whether it is an 11 round liner, a 5 round shader. We can even use a 3 round liner if we want to kind of outline these thicker lines and once again just fill everything in. This right here I feel would be another approach that I would take to accomplish thicker lines depending on how heavy the line weight is. Another approach that we can take to apply thicker lines, and this would be my third method, would be to use a mag of some sort. So for example, right here I have a Mass Pro 0011 round mag. I can kind of accommodate the mag to the line weight by kind of turning it a little bit and then just using small circular motions to build up the line until I am done. The method that we choose is going to be determined by our skill set and comfortability and capability, meaning if we aren't comfortable using 3 round liners just yet, then I wouldn't recommend using a 3 round liner because we can cause permanent damage to any skin that we work because they're smaller needles, which means they're easier to penetrate the skin. It's the exact same fundamental when it comes to a larger needle configuration such as this 88 round shader. If we aren't comfortable using needles of this size, I wouldn't recommend going this route. If we are kind of just starting out and we're not really fully confident yet, I would recommend starting with a middle ground such as an 11 round liner or even a 5 to 9 round shader would work as well. Another big variable that's going to determine how many needles we're able to push, which is also going to contribute to the thickness that we are able to go up to when it comes to lining, is going to be the stroke that we are using. If we are using, for example, a tattoo machine with a 2.5 millimeter stroke versus a machine that's a 4 millimeter stroke, well, obviously the machine with a 2 millimeter stroke is going to hit a lot softer than the machine with a 4 millimeter stroke. I would highly recommend using anything with a 3.5 millimeter stroke on up if you are going to be doing heavier line weight lining or a lot of dense lining. This is the OG Produce Inspiration Tattoo Machine. This is going to be a 3.5 millimeter stroke. I'm going to be running at 6.5 volts. This is going to be, once again, the Ink Claw 88 round shader. And when I create thick lines, I'm focused on a few variables, in which I do go over in another video here on how to create cleaner lines. I identify my point A to my B. I make sure my posture, my position is comfortable. I'm focused on my hand speed to my voltage, my needle angle, and I want to make sure that I give this needle, since it is a lot of needles, I need to give them enough time to work. Since I am personally running at a lower voltage, I need to have a steady tempo when I move so that way all 88 needles are leaving their mark and the line weight integrity holds true the entire way through. So I'm going to whip out right there, like so, dab away, and that is the result that I got. Let's wipe away. I'm going to put some ointment to see the results. I'm going to repeat that process again, and this is exactly how I would go about creating thick lines with a heavier line weight of a needle. This is, once again, the first method. It does require a bit of patience and a bit more technique, so I do not recommend this until you're already comfortable using 5 round shaders, 9 round shaders. You get the idea. I'm going to repeat that process once again. taper out at the end. That was the first method. The second method is going to be to use any needle configuration from like an 11 round liner, 7 round liner. You can use a 9 round shader, somewhere in this ballpark, and we're gonna kind of line this up right here until we get thicker lines. For that process, it's gonna look a little something like this. So I'm gonna change my voltage to 6 volts since I am running a bit smaller of a needle configuration. I don't need as much power. I'm adjusting my needle depth, and this is gonna be the Rain 9 round shader. This again is going to work with any needle configuration. You can use a 7 round liner, an 11 round liner, anything that you have available. This approach can apply to that. So what I'm going to do is pretty much the exact same thing, but instead of doing this in a one pass line, we're actually going to build up this area right here, and that would look a little something like this. So starting from my A point to my B point, I'm going to use the same technique that I use with the 88 round shader, but just with this needle. One thing that is important with a smaller needle configuration when I'm building up thicker lines like this is that I have to make sure that I'm not changing the integrity of the existing line weight, which means I don't come outside of these bounds. I'm real mindful when I'm lining them. So as you can see, I'm basically going to line them, and I'm not going to line outside the bounds of the stencil because I need to keep and capture this line weight integrity right here. There we go. And the idea is to essentially sculpt up this line and build up this line using a series of lines like this and or circular motions for packing in smaller areas. So I can kind of do this area right here in the middle with small circular motions at a slow and steady consistent pace that's matching my hand speed to my voltage. Keep in mind I'm using a machine with a 3.5 millimeter stroke, so my tempo can be a little bit slower just because it's a bit softer of a hit than a 4 or 4.2, 4.5 on up. You get the idea. So I'm going to go ahead and dab away. And this is the process that I would repeat essentially throughout the entire tattoo to create thicker lines. I can kind of even do a line straight down the middle and then repeat patching up everything with the circular motions. But the idea is to essentially sculpt and build up each and every single line with a smaller configuration. And this is also great because let's say if you're not comfortable using an 88 round shader, which is a very large needle, this can also help you be really accurate with all of your ink deposits, which could only result in better results. So again, if you're not comfortable with thicker line weights or smaller line weights, you can use this right here to be really accurate with what ink you're depositing and where. So you can see I'm just using small circular motions back and forth to kind of patch everything up. And this is what I would do all the way around until I've completed this area right here. And I can kind of do this over and over simply because I am working at a lower voltage, and my technique is just to work off the very tip of the needle here and let the rounds that the needle is making do the work for me. So I'm not really applying immense amounts of pressure, as you heard right there. I'm just simply kind of floating the needle, getting into the layers of the skin, patiently and slowly. That right there is how I would go about executing the second method here. The third method that I would use if I needed to apply thicker lines is to use a mag that's kind of matching the line weight that I'm going for, and then just simply pack it in using the mag to my advantage. So this right here is a 7 mag. It's just a straight mag, a CNC Police mag. What I'm going to do is I can approach this one of two ways. I can start right here, for example, and then kind of build my way on this way by using the mag on its side and then just packing in small circular motions on up like this, as you see. Now this is one method that will work, but it just depends on the artist's comfortability and what you feel comfortable with. You can also even turn the mag this way and then kind of go edge to edge like this using small circular motions. In this manner, if you feel more accurate with your deposits that way. The point would be to simply accommodate and use the mag to your comfortability and use the mag to your advantage. Some artists would feel more comfortable going this way to this way like this. Some artists would feel more comfortable just simply running their mag like this. That's really going to be to each their own. You can see that the mag kind of lines up the same as the thickness, but this right here would require more of an advanced technique. So if we are just starting out, I don't recommend going that route. I would recommend starting right here on a thicker line, making sure you get that accurately deposited, and then move over using small circular motions to the other side and let the needle rounds do the saturation for you. I'm not driving the needle into the skin or anything like that. This right here is more of a foolproof way to be more, I guess, precise and accurate with your deposits. If you're kind of nervous about that thing and you're not really fully confident at this point in your journey, I would recommend slowing it down and doing smaller increments at a time in which you have more control over. Hence the foolproof term there. You can kind of go right here, as you see, bringing my mag over here, establishing the boundary in which I'm not going to go past, and this can help me establish my confidence. So now I feel more confident to kind of bring the needle this way in small circular motions, kind of repeating the same thing on the other side. Same thing right here. I'm still running at 6 volts even, so I'm using a voltage that matches my technique and my tempo. Some artists may move slower at a lower voltage, some artists may move faster at a higher voltage, to each their own. And then from here, I'm going to kind of just finish off this area with this technique right here. And this would be the third method that we can use to apply heavier line weights. For me, 10 times out of 10, I'm going to be using one of these methods to apply the line weights. If it's not direct straight one where I just match the line weight to the line weight that's existing in the stencil, I'll simply build it up using either this mag or a round shader of some sort. I do not have an issue with either or. Both do get the job done wonderfully if we just take our time and apply it all correctly. Because let's remember, when we're done with it, it should look like one clean, consistent line. We shouldn't be able to tell that it was packed in or anything like that. So you can see I just did a series of back and forth motions like this. And then I'm just kind of doing a lighter layer of circular motions over the whole thing just to kind of saturate there to the best of my ability. And then I'm going to bring the mag down this way and do some whip shades out to create that sort of tapered look right there. Here is a close-up look at the final results. If I didn't tell you which one was which, you wouldn't know or be able to tell which one was applied with which method. Here is a look at some of the results right here. And here is a look on the other side. I feel like that is the point right there. We shouldn't be able to tell which method we use to apply the lines when we are done with the entire tattoo. This right here, what we're looking at, this side was done with the mag, this side was done with the 9-round shader method. So this was method 2, this was method 3, and over here was method 1 with the 1-pass lines. Which route you take to accomplish your thick lines is going to be solely 110% up to you as the artist. It's going to be determined by your capabilities and your current skill sets and what you feel comfortable with. Whatever route you take, I would just recommend staying true to the integrity of the line weight that we should be applying. Apply that with any method that we feel comfortable with, and just simply try your best. Stay technical the entire way through. That's basically my logic when applying these sort of tattoos here. That right there is how I would go about applying thicker lines. If you have any questions at all, I encourage you to drop a comment down below. I'm going to do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. Before you go, please don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell for me, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you all. I do also have social medias under the same name as this YouTube channel. I have Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, all under Daniel Yuck. I would appreciate the support over there as well. With that being said, I appreciate you, your time. Thank you very much for watching. You have a great day.